What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning into this video. This is the brand new 2024 Ducati Streetfighter V4S, and man, what a bike. Now, before I get into the review of this bike, let me do a little bit of business first and give a great big thanks to my friends at Faymeyer's Motorcycle World in Greenwood Village, Colorado. I've been a loyal customer there for almost 20 years now. They let me take this bike out today to ride it and review it, and I owe them a great big debt of gratitude for that. Thank you guys, appreciate it. So the first thing, let's just talk about, it's a Ducati. I know it's supposed to be red, right? But this thing is magical. Boy, they nailed it with the color on this bike, black and gray, and it looks superb, man. What a gorgeous bike this thing is. Very, very keen on this colorway. It looks awesome. So the major difference between the V4 and the V4S is that the S version has the semi-active suspension by Öhlins. Let's talk a little bit about the bike and some of the functions. As I already said, the V4S comes with the Öhlins semi-active suspension, right? The brake levers and clutch lever are Brembo and fully adjustable, and they're actually pretty darn good for a stock bike, right? So the V4S comes with a steering damper from Mechatronic Suspension, and it is also electronically controlled. So you can even dial in the amount of steering damping you want through the menu system on the bike, which is a really, really cool function. Up front, as you can see, you have the air dams for downward force at higher speeds. It is a single-sided swing arm like the Ducati Panigale, and I believe the same swing arm. Instead of having clip-ons, it has a handlebar that is in a really, really nice position. The vibration dampers seem to do a really good job on the street. This is a very smooth riding motorcycle in town. The bike has a phenomenal quick shifter. It is really, really smooth, both up and down. It is a really good quick shifter. As I've been riding it, it shifts so smooth, coming down into turns, blipping or letting off the throttle and just blipping the gear shifter down. It really is a smooth, there's no rear wheel blockage or anything like that. Also, due to the 6-axis lean angle program on the bike. Now this is Ducati's Super Naked, okay? It comes with the 208 horsepower V4 Desmo Sedici motor, and it is a work of art. Now, I've owned Ducatis in the past. My favorite bike of theirs was a 1098 that I owned several years ago. It was a V-twin, obviously. It was before the V4s came out, but the heart of the motor still exists. It's still a fun, revvy motor that is great to drive, and I'm just having a blast riding this bike. It is so smooth. Comfort-wise, it's pretty comfortable, as a Super Naked is supposed to be compared to a Super Sport, right? The rear sets are a little bit closer and a little bit lower to the ground, so they are a lot more comfortable. The handlebars are quite a stretch, actually, for being a Super Naked. On my Super Duke, I feel like the handlebars would probably be another couple inches closer to my body, whereas these ones are a little bit further away. It's kind of a stretch. I'm 6'4". I have a pretty good reach. A shorter person might find it that they are leaning forward a little bit, but I can't say that that would really be uncomfortable. Just know that if you are of shorter stature, you may be reaching a little bit for these handlebars, but I wouldn't let that stop you from being interested in the Ducati Streetfighter V4. Now, the brakes, obviously Brembos, okay? These are Brembo 4-piston stoppers on both left and right side, and also outfitted with Brembos on the back on the single-sided swing arm rear wheel. Okay, so let's talk about riding the bike on the street. Now, this bike has a 15,000 RPM redline, which is insane for a V motor, but super cool also. The RPM gauge doesn't even, on the TFT, the RPMs don't even, they begin at 5,000 RPMs, right? So it doesn't even show anything under 5,000 RPMs as you're riding. What I noticed, and I'm used to riding my Super Duke, which, redlines at 10,000 RPMs and makes its peak torque at around 6,000. So I don't really rev it up that high all that often. But as I was riding around, I was noticing that I was at 5,000 to 6,000 RPMs, which is just the beginning of the rev range on this bike. But even at 5,000 or 6,000 RPMs, riding around in town, it had all that I needed. I did not need to shift down. At 5,000, 6,000 RPMs, it is still a fire-breathing bike. I mean, incredible. Now, most bikes, when you have like your inline V4s, if they have a 13, 14,000 red line, that, you know, they're going to be pretty tame until you hit about 10,000, which is where they really come alive. This bike, you can feel it gaining power as it gets up closer to that 10,000 RPM rev limit, or range, excuse me, but it makes good power all the way through, from off idle all the way to redline. Unbelievable. What a beautiful motor. Now, you may have heard that the V4 motor puts off a lot of heat. I can tell you that is correct. This thing puts off a lot of heat. On my Super Duke, if I'm sitting at a stoplight in the summertime, I can really feel that that heat, especially on the right side, on my right leg, you know, which is where the exhaust comes to. This bike, you can even feel the heat while you're riding. I mean, it is a hot running bike. You turn it off and the fan stays on for quite a while. So that is something to consider depending on where you live and how you like to ride. It is a very hot running motor. It does put off a lot of heat. It is a naked, there's no fairing to block that heat, but it is warm for sure. So the seat, wow, what a seat. This thing, I want to say it has 5 inches of foam, okay? So they built this seat expecting you to have long days in the saddle cruising around town on this bike. And the seat is very comfortable. It's very wide in the back, a little bit more narrow in the front. What I will say is while I'm riding around on it, I notice that I am leaning forward and my body is shifted. I'm resting on the back of the tank here, right? Some bikes have a more neutral stance. This one has a little bit of a rake to it. So I would like to see the seat have a little bit more angle up near the tank, and maybe a little bit wider at that point. But nothing you couldn't, you know, I'm sure you could get an aftermarket seat for it that would be a little bit more comfortable. You know, I'm 240 pounds, so, you know, maybe we're splitting hairs here, right? Overall though, a very, very comfortable seat. Now, the tires that Ducati chose to put on the Streetfighter V4 are the Pirelli Diablo Rossos. So you know that they intend for this to be a performance-oriented bike. These things are super, super soft, super grippy, great traction tires. They're probably not gonna last very long, but you buy a bike like this, you're not looking for longevity, you're looking for performance out of your tires anyways, right? So, man, they grip, they grab the ground really, really well. They are super nice tires. I like them a lot. One difference between the V4 and the V4S is that on the V4S you get these 3-spoke mag wheels, and on the standard V4 it comes with aluminum wheels. Okay, so these are definitely a performance upgrade. They're lighter. They have less inertia, unsprung weight, all that other stuff. So these are a little bit more performance oriented for sure. So the big difference between the V4 and the V4S is 2 things. One is on the V4S, you get the Öhlins semi-active suspension and you get the 3-spoke mag wheels, whereas on the V4 standard, you get the aluminum wheels. So Ducati, like many of the other manufacturers, has opted to get rid of the slip-on exhaust silencer or muffler, if you will, and just run straight out of the cat. I guess, you know, a lot of the manufacturers have just decided that muffler doesn't really do much. All of the performance gains are built into the catalytic converter and that portion of the exhaust. Granted, it has to be done for emissions purposes, but they've just decided that having a slip-on or a muffler just is really useless weight, so they've gotten rid of that. Okay, so this version of the bike, the Streetfighter V4S, MSRP is at just under $28,000. Well, that is a pretty hefty price tag for a bike that has this much technology, a 208 horsepower motor, and weighing at 392 pounds dry. That is quite a lot for your money. Would I buy this bike? I would. I certainly would. I may. This is such a great bike to ride. My other Ducati that I had years ago, it was not very fun in the city, in an urban environment. It just wasn't. This bike is so controllable in an urban environment, but if you want to get out on a stretch of road or track and really get into it, you certainly can. It has all of the racing chops that come with the Ducati lineage, and it is a fantastic bike. And let's face it, man, it is gorgeous. This is one awesome looking bike. Dig this color scheme a lot. Red, of course, Ducati, you know, this comes in red also, which is very cool. But I would not hesitate to own this color scheme bike. Very nice looking bike. Very nice looking bike indeed. Okay guys, so that is about it for my first ride review of the Ducati Streetfighter V4S. I hope that you liked the video and got some good information out of it. If you did, please give me a great big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. And one more big shout out to Faye Meyer's Motorcycle World in Greenwood Village for letting me take this out, trusting me with this gorgeous bike. Thanks again. And I hope to see you guys out on the road.